There we go. Hello, YouTube. Hello, hello. And I meant to start this recording first. So now I start the Zoom recording. Did I do everything? Check my little list. Start, stop, mute.
Recording in progress.
All right. So those of you out there getting that message, you may get something on your screen. If you want to click it to make the little tag go away, you can, but it might not be in your way. So welcome. Thank you for joining us, me, us, the group, whenever you are here. It's Mother's Day. I'm putting that right up front because I'm likely to forget it as I'm kind of thinking of that in my theme, but I'm also going to other ideas. What you'll want today is we'll be doing very gentle movement most of the time. I do hope to get to some stillness. You can choose to be, if you at all can be comfortable on your back and on your side, that would be delicious. But please be honest with yourself. You want to be comfortable, and you can put something under your head. You can put something under your body. So if I'm going to be on the ground here, I spread out a blanket to give myself a little more cushioning. You can also do this from sitting, and I'll be doing it from sitting. I see somebody's choosing. Jackie's chosen the ground. She's waving from the ground. You can do this from sitting. It's different. We have to be making some effort to be upright, but it's also wonderful to do it from sitting. And you don't need to see me necessarily. I try to teach this in a way that my words will give you all the instruction you need, and I don't need to see you necessarily, although it's nice. Anything else? So one of the things I did in the beginning for the Zoom, if you guys who are here with me in real time, air quotes, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself. And since I'll be watching the screen, sometimes you could just get my attention. I might need to unmute you if I'm the one that muted you. I don't know if that technology is still true. So you can just ask a question. Your question will be heard on the recording for others who came before, but your image, you won't be seen on the recording, just your voice. All right. I'm going to start with a bell, and we'll get into our topic for today, which is wonder and flow. Perhaps your attention noticed your breathing as you heard the bell. Perhaps hearing the bell, you felt the invisible, but very audible and palpable, but you felt the waves of sound. Or maybe you felt them not so much as waves or in your skin or in that way, which is possible, but also just in a way that washed over or through your body with a little bit more relaxation. Perhaps when I chimed it that third time and it was a bit louder, you noticed that your body responded with a little jolt. And all those perhaps, as I just shared with you, is an invitation to deeply notice what your experience is right here, right now. I almost always share a poem, often two, and I will share 3 today, I think, if I manage to fit them in. And so right on the cusp of that, as you continue to arrive and just feel yourself in your body, what your body is touching, the ground beneath you, the chair beneath you, beneath your feet, beneath your pelvis, beneath your legs perhaps, your spine, your shoulders, your head if you're lying down. Truly touching into what you're noticing at each of those places, and even hearing the words that come. As I just described, say the relaxing you might have felt with the bell, the jolt you might have felt with a louder dong of the bell. We very quickly give words to each thing. And when I think of wonder, often wonder comes in a very wordless way. Like we just see something so beautiful, so amazing, like a sunset, so many sunsets, but each one, and some can be especially the most beautiful, the most glowing. Or seeing something like, I'm thinking of what Steve shared last week, if I'm remembering this right, about photographing a flower or seeing the beauty of a flower and how that is an awe moment and thought can drop away and we can become fully present. A friend some years ago was going through a tough time and found herself on her screen porch during or after rain, and just seeing one raindrop and just the fascination of what was reflected in that raindrop and how it pulled her in, transported her away from her worries in a way, or broadened her experience. In any case, let me share this. Actually, the same friend sent me this writing back in 2021. I think its context is for a political difficulty, but you can think of it for any challenge, and how turning to something we might enjoy looking at, like a raindrop or a butterfly or a flower or the sky, and how we watch the words we give and intentionally give the names to it can enrich our experience. The title of this poem by Veronica Patterson is A Charm Against the Language of Politics. Say over and over the name of things. The clean nouns. Weeping birch. Bloodstone. Tanager. Banshee, damask, rose. Read field guides, atlases, gravestones. At the store, bless each apple by kind. McIntosh, Winesap, delicious, Jonathan. Enunciate the vegetables and herbs. Okra, calendula. Go deeper into the terms of some small landscape. Spiders, for example. Then after a speech on compromising the environment for technology, recite the tough, silky structure of webs. Tropical stick, ladder web, mesh web, filmy dome, funnel, trapdoor. When you have compared the candidates' slippery platforms, chant the spiders. Comb-footed, round-headed, garden cross, feather-legged, ogre-faced, black widow. Remember that most short verbs are ethical. Hatch, grow, spin, trap, eat. Dig deep, pronounce clearly. Pull the words in over your head. Hole up for the duration. So noticing your breath and just noticing maybe after this poem and my introduction, in the 10 minutes or so we've already been together, notice what you're sensing, the way you're experiencing yourself now in breath, in the shoulders. Perhaps the shoulders are a little more softened. Perhaps the eyes and face and hinges of the jaw are a little more softened. Perhaps I'm saying things that are pleasing and peaceful. Perhaps something is doing something in the opposite direction for you. Perhaps there's a shiver, a pain, a tightness, a worry. So each thing that comes, welcome it into this field of our presence together. And when you're ready, if you're on the ground, if you're choosing the on the ground way, roll onto your side. It doesn't matter which side. Roll onto your side. And as those of us sitting can just stay sitting. On your side, make sure maybe you want to take one arm, this one that's closer to the ground, under your head. Or if you've brought a pillow or a folded blanket to be under your head, not too high, just to make the spine be neutral and not extending your neck in one direction or the other too much. Make sure that your lower back, the side body, everything is comfortable. Knees can be bent, coming up a little bit. Not tucked in too much, but the knees out in front of the hips or a little lower. And just find your breathing again. Again, find the way gravity, this invisible force, always here holding us to the earth. The way it presses parts of you against the ground, or the ground rises up to support you. Both are happening. Notice even the small parts, the fingers, the toes, the feet, the wrists, the back body, like painting it with your mind's eye. And now, for those of you on the ground, you'll work with the side of your body that's free up toward the sky, not the part on the ground, although that part is doing something too, but not directly. And those of us sitting, just choose one side. I'm choosing my left shoulder. So our shoulder, we're coming to feel our shoulder. And begin to bring your shoulder towards your ear. Just doesn't have to go as far as you can, but a little bit, and lower it, let it go back down. If we're sitting, we can kind of let it drop with gravity. So up toward the ear. And if you're on your side, just let the shoulder come toward the ear, and then let your shoulder return to where it started. And very important in this movement, we'll probably do the first movements more repetitions just to get a feel of including all of us in a harmonious way. What do I mean by that? You can just explore on your own to see what could I find, how the meaning in that, all of me. So as you pull your shoulder toward your ear, you may find that something happens in the armpit and the ribs, they sort of come along a little bit. Maybe you even feel something change, especially if you're on the ground, something changes in the hips. Something changes in the neck. There might be, those of us sitting, there might be a tendency to bring the ear toward the shoulder at the same time, and you can let that happen. You might be finding a tendency as you're moving to tighten something up, like you're concentrating on this maybe possibly new movement. The jaw is tightening, the brow is furrowing. And once you see that and give it those words, furrowing, tightening, the whole of you, the being, just kind of knows, oh, I don't need that right now, and you can let it go. All right, let that movement go. Just stop. If you're on your side, you can stay there. You're always free to roll back onto your back if you like. You're always free to do what you need for your comfort, for your interest, for your safety. And once again, whenever we come to these pauses in this practice of deep attention to what we're doing, focused attention, you can just feel, make the space, the field for welcoming what's new, what's here. And let's see what words come about that. Often after just a little bit of this kind of movement, you might feel more spaciousness. You might feel more relaxed. And just before we go back to our sides and moving the shoulder in another way, I'll read you something that I found on Facebook probably 12 years ago. It was from a page called The Mind Unleashed. In many shamanic societies, if you came to a medicine person complaining of being disheartened, dispirited, or depressed, they would ask one of 4 questions. When did you stop dancing? Or when did you stop singing? Or when did you stop being enchanted by stories? Or when did you stop finding comfort in the sweet territory of silence? So roll on your side if you're on your back, and those of us sitting can stay where we are. And now take the same shoulder you were working with. For me, it was the left. Pull it down away from the ear a little bit, and then back, let it retract back into the starting place, which might be changed a little with each movement. And so this movement, you might not feel like it can go quite as far as the first one where you shrugged it up towards your ear. It's just we're moving through different territory, different shapes. Possibly as I'm thinking of my own body, maybe the movement is limited by some tightness in my neck. So I'm noticing those words and thoughts that came up. And feel free to pause after a movement. I didn't say that in the first time, just like pulling the shoulder away from the ear and then coming back and just taking an extra breath before doing another movement. And the breathing, you might notice, am I pairing this movement with a breath? Am I pulling the shoulder down as I inhale, returning it as I exhale, or the opposite? Or was there no connection? And that's fine too. Just do notice your breath once in a while. Turn your attention to what's happening already is the breathing. So just to include it. Okay, let that go and stay where you are. So not as many. And again, we're looking for like a harmony in the moving, an integration with all parts of us, a smoothness, a lightness. And now let's take the movement up toward the ear, same shoulder, and then back through where we started, through the neutral and down toward the hip. And just kind of taking that whole movement now, sliding. And the last few weeks, we've been talking about the spheres of our body, like in the belly or in the chest or in the neck and the head. The shoulder itself is a sort of a ball. And we're sort of rolling it along the side of our chest, toward the neck, toward the hip. You may feel the hip, the sphere of the hip shifting a little. And if you like, I like slow because it helps us to feel what else is happening in the collarbones and the heart center, the way the body presses against the ground. But if you feel like it, something kind of fun to do is to try to go as fast as you can, to jiggle or go a little bit faster. All of the different speeds reveal different things. Just like in a car when you're going fast, you still see a lot, but some things become blurry. You don't get as much detail. So the slowness is really helpful for when we're investigating detail. Okay, let that be. And if you like, roll onto your back. If you're sitting in a chair and you're sitting upright, you could lean back into the chair. I'm going to just shift the position of my legs. And see what happens as we come to this intentional pause, or what happens, what you notice about your wholeness, all of yourself, your heart, your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, your physical body, your imaginings. Notice the inside of your mouth, the front of your chest, and the back of the upper body, shoulder blade area. Notice your belly, your hip joints, your knee joints. Your ankles, and all the joints that allow your foot to move, to dance, to tiptoe. Notice from the roundness of your shoulder down to the elbows, the wrists. I love talking about the wrists. 11 little bones in there that allow amazing mobility, dexterity, and all the little hinges of your hands and fingers. Okay, and if you're on your back, roll back onto your side. Let's do one more thing. I think we just have time for one more. So I'll probably continue. There's more. I can build on this next week. It'll be fun. We'll go to some more circles again. But today, so now on your side, and those of us sitting will work with the same side. And this is a little tricky from sitting, but you can do it. We can do it. Feel the hip, and you might even put your hand, the free hand there, feel the hip, and you can let your hand rest somewhere. And then let the hip pull up toward the ear, and then back down, or up toward the side ribs, and then go back into place. So we're kind of making a little C with our side body. You're not purposely necessarily pulling the shoulder or doing anything with the shoulder, but it may kind of get closer to the hip just because of this action. And there are really a lot of components happening in this little action. Make sure you're breathing. You might pair the movement with the breath. Exhale as you move into the lifted, shifting up hip, and inhaling, relaxing, or the opposite. Or just make sure you're breathing and enjoying your breathing. And then let's just take it in the other direction. Take the hip roll. It's sort of, it might help, especially if you're sitting, if you think of a ball here that's now rolling the opposite, like pulling the hip away from the ear, away from the rib cage. And I put my hand on my hip as I'm sitting to sort of feel that as well. Not necessary, but you can. And for a moment, notice as we take this action from the neutral position to downward roll of the side hip, that something's happening on the other side of the body too. I didn't give instruction for the other side or the side that's on the ground, but it's being pulled and pushed along with this movement. All right, just rest in place now. Just rest, pause, attend. Welcome, open to. And then let's take the hip in both directions, rolling it down away from the ribs and ear, and then up, down. Just let the hip roll. And if the shoulder wants to do something, let it do something. Maybe it comes, the hip and shoulder come together and then apart. Small movements are enough. Lightness, harmony, integration of all of you, that all the parts that are connected, it's like gears. Every part is actually connected. The toes are even getting a benefit here. The fingertips, through the skin, through the connective tissue, through the bony structure, through the cellular fluids. And then if you're finding that your shoulder and hip are pulling away, can you let them both go in the same direction? Both pull down, both go up. Both go down, both go up, to up being toward the head. And did I invite you to make this so that it's fun, enjoyable, feels good? You have some agency around that. Maybe the breath feels a little freer. All right, pause. Stay where you are. You could call it the end of movement, but if you like, I'm going to invite you to stay where you are, feel for a few breaths, attend, and then do one more bit of movement of your choice, any parts of this, anything, maybe something a little different from this. And in about 2 minutes, we'll regroup together toward a silence and stillness. So your option to move or continue moving for a few moments more, or go into the stop. So if you've still been moving, bring that to a close and come to a stop and give a few breaths of just attending to what's here now. And then just let yourself stay where you are in stillness, or if you feel like you'd prefer to be in a different position for the silent stillness, often called meditation, just for a couple minutes of it, you can move into that. And we'll just be together, relaxed with our silence, supporting each other in this practice. As one of my teachers says, have a good journey in this silence. And as you stay in your stillness for another maybe minute and a half, I'll read to you a little selection of a couple paragraphs from the teacher of presence and meditation, Jean Klein. The mind must come to a state of silence, completely empty of fear, longing, and all images. This cannot be brought about by suppression, but by observing every feeling and thought without qualification, condemnation, judgment, or comparison. There must simply be a quiet looking at what composes the mind. In discovering the facts just as they are, agitation is eliminated. The movement of thoughts becomes slow, and we can watch each thought, its cause and content as it occurs. We become aware of every thought in its completeness, and in this totality, there can be no conflict. Then only alertness remains, only silence. So do not force your mind. Just watch its various movements as you would look at flying birds. In this uncluttered looking at all your experiences, in this uncluttered looking, all your experiences surface and unfold. For unmotivated seeing not only generates tremendous energy, but frees all tension, all the various layers of inhibitions. You see the whole of yourself. Observing everything with full attention becomes a way of life, a return to your original and natural meditative being. And so I'm going to end our practice with a bell. And after I ring the bell, you can bow during the bell. I'll bow after the bell. And then I'll close the recordings. And those of you who would like to stay for a little bit to chat can join me for that for a little bit after the class. Thank you so much for being here in support of each other and support of our practice that does help to bring down agitation in a way by noticing the agitation. And I will send all these to you. Those of you on Zoom will get it through the Sun and Moon email. And those of you on YouTube, I'll post it under the YouTube video. Thank you so much. And I'll stop the recordings. Bye-bye to the Zoomers.
Recording stopped.
Oops. Thank you.
By John Klein.
Okay, good. We'll have to find out what that was.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can talk about that. Bye-bye, YouTubers.